Review agenda for additions, removal, or adjustments. Do we have anything, Val?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay, we're doing this Zoom, so everybody please mute themselves. And if you need to talk, raise your hand, send a chat, wave. We'll try and pay attention. Public forum. It's time for anybody who has something they'd like to say or speak about that is not currently on the agenda and would take less than 5 minutes. Okay, moving on. Regular business. Budget workshop. Finalize fiscal year 2022 general fund and police department budgets.
So, since the last meeting, Jen and I reviewed budget numbers. There have been some changes since the previous meeting, and we might want to consider additional adjustments tonight. For example, we might have some opportunities to increase our projected revenues. And I understand we have an updated figure for the Addison County tax that we need to plug in.
Yay.
Yeah. Jen and I have not had a chance to connect today. Do you want to approach this in a particular way?
Either is fine. I sent the link that the select board was using, and all those figures are up to date with the Addison County updated number in there.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if I don't think there was any other change that we had talked about that was missing.
Did you send that today, Jen?
Yeah, I didn't get it either.
I sent it Friday, but because it's a live document, I can update it, whenever, and it updates. So if you guys open it now, it should be hopefully where it's supposed to be.
Hey, Jen, I did have a question on the landfill fees. Yeah. Is that for the monitoring or is that for R&L that we pay for the town?
Nope, that's for monitoring.
Okay.
And then Michelle, you had two other questions I saw pop up. One was about the rec phones, and they're
not on Holly Hall.
They have a separate bill, so we keep them separate.
Okay.
And then what was your second question?
I don't know.
Do you remember?
I'd light up. Look.
Okay, let me see if I can find it in my email. Just because there's a lot.
So you get them in an email when we put a comment?
Which is nice, good. So that I can identify the cell exactly, so I don't have to go back through.
You had ones in the public safety. Were those old ones?
They're probably old ones because I try to date them when I send them.
Oh, okay.
When I put my comments in there, I try to date them.
Is this higher than H59? Up on the top, maybe.
Jen, you sent a new budget, or you send it also to my home email address?
Yep, it should, but I can send it again if you need me to, Joel.
Yeah, because I
can message it to you, Joe.
I'd rather have it in my email because then I'm reading the budget here.
Okay.
The only thing I got was Michelle's corrections on you sent some
meeting minutes. Yeah.
Michelle, you were asking about if we'd increase the landfill fees up under the general expenses because of R&L and the extra pickup and I think that's what your question says. It's on cell 59.
Yeah, it went from like 500 a year to 800.
525 to 750 is what we increased it.
Yeah, because that was the extra pickup in the summer months on Main Street.
Yep. Joel, did you?
So Jen, that line item is for the R&L pickup, or is
on line 59 under 59? The general?
That's the question.
Okay. Sorry, I was at the bottom where we were talking about where there's post closure. So I thought.
No. So this increase was because we had the extra pickup.
Right.
Correct. So do we think we're going to be? My question, I guess, ultimately was: do we think we're going to be wind up continuing that extra pickup even after COVID ends? So will that continue through 2022? I guess was my question.
Well, I don't know. That's, I guess, your decision to make, right?
Well, I mean, that's what I guess that was my question to the select board.
Okay.
I see what you're saying, Michelle, because I mean, this budget is going to take effect to July 1 and we're going to pay for
Right.
it for 6 months up until December.
Right.
I mean, it's not a lot. It looks like a huge increase, but it's a couple $300.
The
Yeah,
select
no, I
board
just-
also-
I think we ought to leave it just in case we need it in the spring again.
well, also the select board had suggested putting the service out to bid again. And if we do that, the overall bids might come in higher.
Right.
Nope, that's fine. I just wanted some clarification to make sure that that's what it was. That's what I thought it was, but I wanted to make sure I was reading it right. Okay.
So-
Anybody else have anything?
Yes, the question I have on revenues, I'm looking at the trends on the national forest payments. I would recommend we increase that to 15,500.
What line are you
Yeah,
looking
looks
at, Valerie? I'm sorry.
Line
Number 4.
4.
Any luck?
Right. Right, because last year was 15,938.
Hmm.
Previous year was 15,600. So what was it?
Jen, do you
said
know,
50
has there been more? I mean, I don't know that you'll know this, but has there been more land put in the land use program? Because that's where our money comes from, right? Or taken out.
Well, so current use and national forest are two different things.
Okay.
So, the national forest, I don't really know how that amount is determined.
I was just gonna say, does anybody know how they calculate that?
It's a payment in lieu of taxes.
Yeah,
somehow.
but how do they calculate that? How do they determine what they pay per year?
I don't know.
They're
but over the
certainly
past
not
few
paying
years-
the tax rate.
Right. Like part of me thinks it's just either the municipal tax or that they pay, like they pay the school or they pay us the municipal tax. But I could be wrong.
And isn't that what current use does?
Similar, yes, but they
Right.
have their rates are set a little bit differently.
I mean, I'm
Also-
fine with putting it up to 15 if we think that this trend will continue.
15 instead of 15.5, as Val suggested.
If we think they're gonna continue at 15.9 or somewhere near, then I'm okay with 15.5.
So
Yeah,
Jen,
it seems-
co-host, if you want to share your budget.
Oh, I can. Yeah. Sorry, I was gonna get in the right place here.
Yeah.
And I'm also wondering if, for other revenues, if we want to take another look at the town clerk fees and zoning fees. Because if you look at the last 2 years of actuals, it shows an
Oh,
increase.
yeah.
Mhm.
And Valerie and I talked about that. We talked about that today on the phone.
I think the discussion we had about clerk fees was that we can't control recordings. So right now recordings are really high because a lot of people are refinancing, but if that changes or goes away, then we don't have, like, we can't generate recordings. It's purely just a hit or miss.
I don't think we need to get close to the 44, but I think, if we took it from 38 up to 40,
Yeah, that would be my recommendation.
be conservative about it.
The fees themselves have increased. So there's that.
Right, even before COVID, looking back, they were still going up a little bit.
Right.
The
And then-
zoning doesn't really make that much sense, though. I mean, you've got 11.4, but then the next year you have 9, and then this year we've got 6. I think keeping it at 9, there doesn't seem to be the trend that it's getting higher and higher each year.
I was going to recommend maybe go change that $1,000 into 10.
Okay.
With
Because
the
we
new
increased the fees and now we have new subdivision regs.
Oh, that's true. Right.
That's true. Yep, that makes sense.
I mean, Val, what was did you have a number?
You on yet, Peter?
Yeah, he's on.
I'm gonna shut you off, Peter.
Let's see, what was my recommendation? Actually, I was thinking possibly even up to 11,000 for zoning fees.
I mean, so do we know with the DRB, what are the fees associated with that? Isn't that's part of the zoning fees, right? So
Right.
you're just looking at the increase in what zoning fees are?
Well, the fees themselves were increased a year or so ago, and now
Okay.
we have subdivision regulations, so we might see more activity there.
I see. But
Yeah,
that's,
but will
yours-
those zoning fees won't be more, will they? I mean, I didn't think the fees themselves changed with what the regs did.
No, the fees didn't change with the regs.
Right.
Val's saying like the potential for more applications because we have subdivision now.
Right.
Yeah, but
At least that's the
you
hope.
still had to apply for a subdivision before, Ian. There just was
Oh,
no
I see.
regulation. So I think what Michelle's saying is that the part of it doesn't change. We just now have regulations you have to follow versus.
But the fees went up last year. What Valley was saying, I think that's what reflecting the 6,000 for 6 months. The 8,900 the year before was part of that. Most of that was the old fees. And now the new fees,
I mean, I guess it's that if you think you're going to make your 3,000, like right now it's quiet. So,
Right.
from April to June, if you think you're going to make your 3,000 in fees to hit your projected
Oh,
9,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
like that's just you certainly can. It's just a little more uncertain, I would say, than clerk fees.
Right. Yeah, the clerk fees definitely show a nice trend of getting higher, whereas the other ones don't, where the zoning doesn't as much. And if you look at his zoning report from last year, it's the same amount of applications. So we'd have to have quite a few more, I think, to really get it up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing to note on the clerk fees is that previously they used to be able to do 2 recording pages per page, and now they can no longer do that. So their expenses are going to increase with the increase in the fees as well, because they have to buy more books.
Right.
Is
And
that
we
right,
adjusted
Jen?
that.
Jen and Sharon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Sharon estimated that she's going through right now an average of 6. Is that right, Sharon?
Yes, about 6 a year. This past year, I've definitely gone through 6, and I just ordered 3 more.
Mhm.
Where does that expense come from?
It's
Comes,
in the clerk's supplies or clerk.
is it our rec administration or clerk supplies?
It's in the supplies. Yep.
Yeah.
In the supplies, yeah.
Jennifer, I asked Valerie today, when we do finally, I hope, get that FEMA money from the Halloween storm of 2019, that's a revenue to the town. Where does that go? Or where does that put in?
Right here, FEMA grant, line 27.
And we don't, are we anticipating getting that sometime in 21, 22?
We'll definitely get it this fiscal year, so it wouldn't show up in
Next
next.
fiscal year we're in now?
Correct. Yeah, it's almost finished. We just need to, right after town meeting, when things are down, we'll be able to get it together.
So that what you're saying, you've got budgeted or?
No, we don't. We typically don't budget for a FEMA reimbursement. We just let the revenue come in and offset any expenditure that we've had.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, we're saying national forest payments, where are we putting it up to? 15.5?
15.5, going up 1,000.
Okay, 15.5. And then you want the clerk fees at 40.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we leave the zoning as it is and see how it goes for this transitional
I
year.
was gonna say that. Let's leave the zoning.
Yeah.
The other question I have is about library reimbursements. Looking down below in the section about library expenses, I tallied up with the new health insurance coverage plus the workers' comp plus disability insurance. It
We
comes.
don't charge them for workers' comp.
What was that?
We don't charge them for workers' comp.
Oh,
It's just disability and health insurance.
okay.
So the town pays the workers' comp, but they reimburse us for the disability and the health insurance.
Correct.
Is that right, Jen?
Yep.
So that comes to 10,304.
Not 10,715 like it's printed.
Well, the health insurance is currently budgeted at 9,715. And then the disability insurance is 589.
Oh, okay.
And that comes to 10,304.
Okay. So we just need to adjust that.
Actually, that's less than what's on there now.
Uh-huh.
Huh. Wonder why.
So can we, with that particular line, can we split it off to show the two different items?
Yeah, they're both insurance though.
Just
Yeah,
the
but-
reimbursement ones, or
Yeah.
because
Well,
we
they're
only
showing us, the expenses are down below in the library section.
Oh,
we only
okay.
send them one bill for it.
If it comes, Jen, is there any reason like you have estimated numbers in here for the insurance and are those known numbers or is there a chance that that might change?
For 6 months, we know health insurance, and then we guess at an increase.
We
Okay.
project a 15% increase.
Okay.
Is Valerie, you guys have been projecting that, a percentage every year. What you project and what it finishes out, is it about the same? It's 15% what I'm trying to get at. Is that a little high? I'm hearing the schools are doing 10%. So
No. Last year, I think we did 12, and it came in right at 12, and it was
Okay.
too close for comfort, I think.
I was watching a school board meeting this weekend on NEAT, and I saw they were budgeting 10% for health care.
But they also get their, like, they have state of Vermont controls, I think, for health insurance
Okay.
for teachers that we don't
Oh, okay.
unfortunately get.
We're not in the same pot.
Fortunately not, but we'll have to research. I know you guys had talked about different plans, so we'll have to research as we get closer to the new year, different options to look at.
Hey. Any other questions on the general fund or?
191 cemetery care, is that part of the money that we're putting towards cemetery care, or is this
No.
another?
That's for the Meehan Road. Oh, help me out, Peeker.
Meehan, Bernie, and
Briggs Hill.
Briggs Hill.
Rick Hill.
The
That's for
mowing.
lawn care for those three.
So those little
The
family
191
ones.
Yeah.
line, okay.
The only reason I know that I've asked that question before.
Okay.
Sorry. Oops. Come on.
We've got a couple missing FICA ones. Not FICA. Wait, where'd it go? Oh, in the public safety K9.
We don't
FICA.
have that anymore
Oh, it's
because
gone. Okay.
you did the police department.
Okay. Good.
And then the county tax figure, which is on line 244. We had originally budgeted 17.3 in that. Sharon got a finalized number this morning of 18,256 and change. So
Okay.
I updated that figure.
So there'd be a big surplus in that line,
Which line?
depending on what the change is.
Oh, the change. Sorry. Right over my head, Peeker. Whoop.
Sorry.
Not.
Michelle, what was your question about the 243, the holiday committee? You talked about
No,
the
I was,
Bristol Bucks.
at one point I was asking if we could put money in there, like for the Bristol Bucks we do
Right.
Christmas time, but we just figured we'd get it out of some other fund.
Right.
Okay, anything else on this one? Okay, do we want to move on to the highway? If anybody has any questions anyway?
I wanted to talk a little bit. I talked to Valerie this morning, or Lister's office.
Okay, so go back up.
Just go up there, Joel. Sorry.
I'm still wondering. We're estimating what 20 hours a week there, and I talked with Bill Benton, and he was doing 1 day a week in Middlebury, which is a much larger town. I'm just wondering if I think we're going to be closer instead of 20 hours a week. I think we're going to be probably closer of a couple days a week.
We did.
50.
This is 16 hours for a contractor, right?
Is that what you're asking, Joel? Or are you talking about
Yes.
the listers themselves?
No, I know we did that one already. I was doing 16 hours a week times 52 weeks.
And then I think I said $25 an hour as a guess, but we don't know.
Oh, I was using 20. So yeah. Okay. I was trying to get that down a couple. I still think 15, 16 hours a week it's going to be. I think some weeks it might be 3 days, but I think a lot of times it's going to be barely have to stop in a half a day. And I'm trying to
Well,
save that a couple of $1,000.
We did that because it's new and we aren't sure how much our people are going to work either.
Right.
And
Well,
we
we upped that, Peaker. We upped that 6,000 up from 42 to 6. I want the appraiser doing
Still not a lot. Still not a lot.
shuffling papers. That's what I'm saying, Peaker. I want the appraiser appraising and doing the tough stuff, the commercial stuff, and not shuffling papers.
Well, this is going to be one of those learning years for them to figure out who's going to do what. And
Yeah, and I think,
Yeah.
if you have two people in there shuffling papers, we're going to eat up that $25 an hour on them between two people.
Right.
I just
give it a
I'm
take in some spot, I think, right? What the hope is.
being a learning year. I don't want to be way short.
No.
On a different subject, briefly, I'm told that the chat isn't working again, and I don't know how to.
I think I thought I had fixed it. Did I not?
I'm told that it's not working.
I don't know.
well, mine says everyone publicly and privately.
Okay.
Oh,
Darla
Just
just
put a
said
note in.
something.
Yeah.
oh,
Okay.
goodbye.
I just tested.
Yep. Yep. It worked. I got it.
Mhm.
All right. Good.
So Joel, you okay to leave it the way it is for now?
No, but
But-
that's all right. Let's move on.
Okay. Let's move on to highway. Any questions or concerns on this budget by anybody?
I didn't have any.
I'm not hearing anybody, so
Hold
shall we
on.
move on to rec?
Hold on. I'm just
Okay.
over. I still would, we put another 1,000 in the guardrails. And I asked Valerie this question today. Last year, Ian, we started this emerald ash borer replacing trees, $2,500. That they came out of highway. Thought it was somewhere else, and she thought it was in the tree line in highway. And how much are we putting in it this year? It just says trees here, $6,000.
That I thought that was just to take
It's
trees
different.
down,
Yeah.
not to replace trees.
Right. Correct.
I think we changed it to tree work because it used to say, I think, tree removal. And I think we changed it a year or so ago to say tree work to leave open the flexibility of replacement.
Okay.
Well, trimming as well. Instead of removing, we can go and trim.
But I remember Ian saying last year, being that new committee, we gave him $2,500. And it's not in here under tree work. It went from 48 to 6.
Well, there's in the general fund under town parks, there's tree planting.
Okay.
And so
Is there?
there's 5. We're budgeting 5 in that.
What's the line, Ian?
87.
Thank you.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, there was confusion of where we would put those things.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we put that money in last year.
So it was 5 last year?
Now that you say that, Ian, I think you're right. I do remember that.
Of course,
Yeah, and we changed, as people said, we changed the tree work to work versus tree removal just to give us some flexibility with fixing trees or trimming and things like that, trying to make that a little bit more clear. But obviously it's not, because we've all forgotten.
it's clear as mud, right, Ian? What's the board feel? We're trying to get it down, taking 1,000 out of that line. Maybe make it $4,000.
Out of the tree planting?
Yeah.
Wait, so the way you were talking, Joel, I thought you wanted more money into it, but you want to take some money out?
No, I was just looking at the tree in the highway. Went
I
from
see.
48 to 6. That was for cutting them. But I was trying to find
Oh, got it.
for 5, and you found it's under town parks, tree planting.
Well, so let's look at the highway and let's see the tree work. What have we done? Well, there's nothing in there for this year, which means we probably didn't do anything. I don't know, Jen, if you
Yeah.
have any numbers.
Probably
for that.
not yet. We usually
Yeah.
do it in the spring, typically,
Okay.
once winter's done. And
I
We've
mean,
had
I
all
guess,
those windstorms and ice storms. And
yeah. I mean, looking back at our actuals, we get pretty close to that
Yeah.
6. I mean, it was 4,800 last or a year ago.
I know he's got a bunch of trees by the power lines up on the Notch Road where he's going to do that ditching.
Yeah.
Right.
So that could soon add up.
Yeah.
I was thinking more of the tree planting with the emerald ash. If we think we're going to replace some of those on the park, that the committee has got to look at whether we're going to cut them or treat them. That's what I'm.
Right, because we're going to have to create some sort of, that committee will work on the budget in terms of what it's going to cost us if we do decide to keep the trees and treat them every year and how long they'll last versus replacement. And I don't know, Val, do you think there'd be grant money available in terms of replacement trees for that kind of project, since it's a
There
statewide
will
thing?
be some. First, we have to have a plan in place, and it has to be
Right.
advertised. There has to be a budget, and it would be competitive. And so far, the grants have been up to $15,000, but it all depends on the plan and the expenses.
50 or 15?
In fact, some grant funds will be available, but not every year. And
1.5, Ian, 1.5.
Okay. Which isn't, for planting trees, that's not very much.
No.
Right. And I'm also thinking if it's only the emerald ash borers that we're looking to, those trees that have been affected, are there other trees that need to be replanted? I know that there was some concern from the
Right.
community when I first.
there are actually some trees have been removed in the village because they were dead or dying.
Right.
And residents there had wondered if there was going to be a replacement. And the drainage work that was done on East Street last year, a beautiful, healthy tree had to be removed because it was in the way, and the plan had been to replace it, but that has not happened yet. And that's something that was, not related to Emerald Ash. It was related to a project.
So it
Right,
sounds
so
like
that,
we would use
that,
that money.
right, that general fund 80, line 87, it's actually everything apart from the Emerald Ash Borer, just because that's a new thing that we're having to come to terms with as a town. So we almost need, once that they have a budget, we need to sort of figure out, does that go in tree planting or does it become a new line for that particular project?
Or a capital plan or capital.
Right, because it's going to be a lot. If we want to replace, or if we want to treat, it's going to be a lot of money.
Well, you also got to figure we're going to have the cost of removing them as well.
Right.
Right.
On top of those two things, right? Yeah.
Okay, then I guess I think we could leave it then. And I was just trying to get a definition because last year we thought we'd start with 25 and we ended up putting 5 in. And I realized because of COVID, we haven't cut anything,
Right.
replanted anything. So this is more than just, if we do a water line down certain streets and we have to go some drainage, we may put a tree back in between the green space. Is that what you're saying, Valerie?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And you won't have to plant very many to eat up that line.
No,
No.
that's a couple trees, maybe 3.
Okay. And my last question again is the general fund. I realize you take 2,080 hours times the hourly rate of the zoning administrator is $22,000, but I'd like to, if we're trying to cut this budget, I'd like to cut that down to 20,000. That's nothing. If Chris works 20 hours for 52 weeks, then we didn't budget enough. But it looks here in the last 2 years that he hasn't been going to meet that. He obviously work's not there to do all that. So I still would opt to take a couple of thousand out of that line.
I don't think I can support that, only because I know what his hourly rate, what he's supposed to be working. Just because he doesn't work it doesn't. I guess, if he does, then we're in the hole.
Right.
Right. Looking at the report for the town report, looking at his hours that we've paid so far, and then compared to last year, I don't see how those numbers match. Because looking at like the total number of applications, it was 73 last year and 83 this year, 73 2 years ago and 83 last year. Certificate of compliance is like doubled almost. So he's still doing the same amount of work, but he's not getting paid to do that work. So I'm not sure where that comes in. Like he's doing all those applications.
Say that again. Were you talking to me?
911 work come out of there?
Say that. I didn't hear you, Sharon. Sorry.
Does the E911 work come out of that line, or is it a different line?
No, that's the same one.
It's just submission of time.
Okay.
It's just when he submits a time card is when he gets paid. So sometimes it's a longer period of time than.
Right.
It's not.
So
he doesn't submit a weekly time card.
Okay.
Basically.
So he might be sitting on a bunch of hours that we haven't paid him for, which could double that, or a little bit more. Because looking at what he's done, at least in the report, he seems to have done more work than he did the year before. So that number should be much higher.
Can we encourage him to at least get his timesheet in at least once a month?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think a
suggestion.
monthly thing seems a good way to go. If he wants to get paid, we'd like to pay you.
And again, didn't we talk about creating a more clear job description for that piece? And maybe that's part of it as well, as saying a monthly timesheet is expected or required, or however that would be worded.
Also,
for Jen, for you, wouldn't it be every other week? Because don't you do?
I mean, I do payroll weekly, so it really,
okay.
Completely honest, doesn't matter to me. I just would like to, as Ian said, pay him because he's doing the work, and so that when you look at the budget, you have a reasonably accurate
Right.
salary figure in there.
Mhm.
It's like once a month is a
You guys are missing the
reasonable thing to
point.
ask.
You guys are missing the point completely. If you think I don't think he's doing the work, I think he's doing it. I think he's more efficient. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that I don't think he's not doing it. He's doing the work. I think he's a lot more efficient. It doesn't take him 20 hours a week. That's what I was
I
going
want to mention though that I've been talking with Chris about exploring the idea of hiring a clerk to take some of the minutes. I think for the DRB, that'll be especially important to have a clerk doing the DRB minutes. So that expense could come out of that line.
Okay. Yeah.
That's true.
All right.
Yeah, Joel, I didn't think that you didn't think that he was doing the work. It would just be like if he's done the work and just hasn't submitted time cards for it just because of the weird times that are happening. But looking at those numbers, it does look like it's less and less each year, but it's such a huge contrast right now compared to what it was 2 years ago. There must be something that's amiss. I don't think he can be that efficient, having half of what we paid him. So there's something in there we need to fix.
Okay.
Okay. Can we move on?
Jill, were you good with highway?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, recreation.
Changing the
Good call,
tab.
Michelle.
Changing the tab. All right, let me get to the top.
Any questions, comments on this one? I mean, I think this one's pretty close to being level funded.
Mhm.
So for the town appropriations, are we missing a town
No.
so far this year?
Yes, I think
September?
she just got it in the mail today, actually.
Oh, good.
Hi, Ian, it's Meredith. Yes, I just got one today, so it's
Great.
complete.
So that'll be the 95.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Actually, one more about that. Meredith, did you explore raising those appropriations? I thought you did at one point, maybe.
We explored it, but at this current time and current situation, we are actually hoping that we'll still be able to receive appropriations from other towns.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we've had this discussion before, and some of the struggles we had with some towns who just say they don't want to pay it. They don't think they should because they have their own rec department.
Right.
Okay, moving on. Appropriations. So basically, Jim, we've heard from everybody, right? There isn't anybody that we're not
I think so for everyone
putting
that.
in the appropriation.
Everybody's accounted for.
Yes,
Okay,
So is the town band? It's in there,
Yep, 1,200.
but aren't they not going to take it?
They didn't take their
Right.
this last year
Current
Oh,
year.
got it.
for the next year.
Oh, right. I see. It's right there. Duh. Okay.
Sharon, Jen, when do you usually pay that? Beginning of the year?
The appropriation,
Yeah.
we pay them after the November tax installment.
Okay.
and you said they have to
For-
request it, right, Jen?
They don't have to request it. Usually the cemetery comes in and they need to pay their mower, so they look for like 50% of theirs early. And then the libraries we do monthly, but everybody else we pay in one lump sum. As soon as we can get them processed after that first installment of taxes.
Okay.
So that 1,200 of the bands is still sitting there. They didn't take it.
Yep, they said they didn't want it this year because they didn't need it.
So that goes into the fund balance,
Correct.
basically.
Okay. Anything else for anybody on appropriations?
So I had a question about that. So given that Bristol is now doing Australian ballot for these, and it's a bit of a different situation than doing that usual floor vote, what happens if an appropriation, if you get more no's than yeses for your appropriation? Do you have any way to discuss that, or is it that's it? It's that group would no longer get their appropriation for this year.
For this year, yeah.
Right.
So there's no recourse. It's because it's voted on by the town
Right.
voters. Okay.
I mean, the question would be is, would they have to then repetition next year and start their 3 years all over again?
I wouldn't. Well, I don't know. We've never had the situation because it's always been the floor vote.
Right.
So
I think not, because they
it's never
didn't
been
choose
granular.
their appropriation not to.
right, it would only be if it increased, right? If they wanted to change, or and a group wanted to change the amount, then you do the petition.
Because in theory, they submitted everything they were supposed to,
That's true.
right? So it's just that they didn't get their money from the voters.
Right, and we would have to. So the fact that this year it's Australian ballot, who makes the choice next year on how the appropriations are handled? Does it go automatically back to a floor vote at town meeting? Can it stay
Yes, after
as
this year.
Okay,
After
it
this
does.
year. This year is only what we're doing now is just for this year.
Okay,
If they do some new legislation next year, it'll go back to how you did it before.
okay, so it goes back to floor vote, and if you wanted to change that, let's say people like the Australian ballot, is it the voters that petition to make that change? Is it the select board that does that?
Well,
I think there's a petition. Somebody can petition to make it Australian ballot.
Yeah, and the select board could too, because the select board has the authority to put articles on the warning and Australian ballot.
If someone
Okay.
petitions it, then you have to put it on your warning.
Right.
But if nobody petitioned it and you all wanted to decide to ask that question at town meeting, you guys could initiate that article.
Okay.
Be interesting to
Okay.
see why.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
because
it's,
Virgins has always done it line by line. We've never
Has
it's
any-
on an Australian ballot, and they've done it for each one.
How do they
Do it. Sharon, do they do each one the hoot and holler or vote by?
No, Australian ballot. It's always
Oh,
been
right.
Australian ballot for the appropriations in Virgins.
Um,
How many have ever been voted down?
I don't know that any of them have, but
Yeah.
number 43, Addison County, Tri-Town. Is that's not,
That's
That's
actor.
That's actor.
they're not asking this year or?
No, that's the
No,
expansion. That was the expansion. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Actor is
It's the Addison County
Right.
Transit Resources.
sorry. Oh,
yeah, but they changed their name to Tri-County.
That's right. It's different now.
It's different now. I had it in there as Tri-County, formerly ACTR. See, this didn't get changed in here. I had it.
right.
I think it's Tri-County.
Tri-Valley, isn't it?
To look.
We'll
No,
look
hang on.
at it,
I think
Sharon,
it's-
and we can.
I think it's Tri-Valley.
Tri-Valley
yeah.
something. Yeah, they
It's-
changed their name.
It's Tri-Valley Transit.
Yeah, formerly ACTR.
Gotcha.
Correct.
And there was another one that changed. I wonder if it got changed on here.
Was that
Probably
the,
not, because this is what's downloaded from NIMRIC. So
Oh, okay.
So if we vote on them by Australian this year, and next year there's a question, if we want to keep it this way, then we would have to go. That would be the question for next year, but we would have to go back to
Yeah.
voting them all well in one lump sum, and then it would change if it was agreed upon. Correct?
right, you'd revert to
Yes.
old ways
Yeah.
with the
I mean,
idea
somebody-
that in 2020.
If somebody called the town office, like in December and asked about that, they could do a petition the petition would have to be received before we put the ballot out or put the ballot to print. You know, what's the due date, Sharon or Jen, that we usually have to have stuff in by?
You'll have to.
I think
vote on
the,
it as a,
I think it's the 14th for that. Candidates is later, but the warning articles are earlier.
yeah, but you'll have
The
to.
14th of January that they'd have to have a petition in.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just trying to avoid some confusion, but it doesn't feel like there's a way to do that.
So Sharon, you said there was another change in the name. Was that the Hospice Volunteer Services?
I know one of them changed to end of life, so it might have been that one.
Yeah, because looking at that report, it says End of Life Services, EOLS, Home of
changed it.
Hospice Volunteers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
that's
so-
what it is. It's end of life services now.
Okay, so that's what that one is, 31. Okay.
Okay. Police?
When I was looking through the police budget, I couldn't recall if there was a specific decision about office supplies, that they didn't need to budget office supplies, or if that.
No, we combined two into one.
Okay.
The general and the office.
Right. Or office into general, whatever it was, but we moved to one and put it in the other.
Okay.
Hey, Bruce, have we confirmed with Mount Aid that contract is going to stay the same?
I haven't got confirmation, but from what limited conversations, we're not expecting much of a change.
Okay.
We do respond there quite a bit.
Even when there's not that many kids there all at once, huh?
Yeah, well, we also, we are part of the truancy piece.
Right.
Some of the truancy calls are up because of remote learning.
Right. Okay. All right. Anything else on the police budget for anybody? Okay. Okay, somebody want to jump in and looks like our total increase for the town is 1.9%. Is that right?
Expenses only, yep.
Okay.
And then the revenues show beneath it, and then the tax support is the next block under the revenue change.
So the total increase, amount supported by taxes, total increase would be what? I'm looking at this right.
Say that question one more time, sorry.
So
Not that
what's the total
38.
increase overall to the budget?
For the general, like it's broken down by budget, just because that's how you vote it.
Well, the tax
Okay.
increase is a 1.55.
But if you're looking at everything all together, yep.
Right, 1.55.
So you're,
Okay,
Michelle,
is that-
is it I think it's the 38,000, right? The 20,
Yeah.
line 24.
Yeah.
Jen, is that now will change or it change automatically when
That's all updated with those figures that.
we just put in?
Yeah, watch, if I go back and change something.
Stop.
Not on this
Kidding.
page, though, not on
I'm
this.
kidding.
Now,
We're not here. No, I meant on the other pages.
just to, Joel's mentioned some of our conversation from earlier today. I want to put out there, he had some other ideas about employee compensation that I don't know if that's going to come up later or at all. But if perhaps later tonight in executive session, if the select board does take a different approach to employee compensation than is currently represented, then that would change.
Right.
If it's for this upcoming budget year, that would change these numbers.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, I'm quite happy with that 1.55, seeing as we were four point something last year.
Mm-hmm.
What would the grand list have to go up to make that zero? I just out of curiosity, maybe you don't know, Jen.
I mean, I don't know.
'Cause there is going to be an increase in the grand list.
I mean, we can look at,
But that won't be until 2022,
no, that'll affect this tax rate.
2023, right?
That'll affect this tax rate. Grand list will close in April, and then we'll use that
Right.
grand list figure to calculate taxes. So this is, that 1.55 is based on the fact that you're using the last year grand list figure.
Right.
I don't know, Peter.
I don't know what's been, has there been many building permits this year? I mean, were they about the same?
Well, I can tell you the one on North Street is putting up a couple houses.
Yeah. Let me tell you, where's Chris?
I know there's a house going up my way this year. I'm not sure if it'll get done before, it's not going to get done before April 1st.
No, but whatever's done will be listed.
Yeah.
They get around just before April 1st and get it listed. I
There's
can't
also
think of
the-
anything made.
Right. Residential, there was 23, according to Chris's report. Is that what that is?
Yeah. It would be
Doesn't
23
necessarily
building permits or just zoning permits.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So we don't know what that is.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you do have the one up on the lower notch.
Well, there's
right?
two
He built
there,
that one
right?
house.
2 or 3 houses there, yep.
Yeah, but he didn't get all 3 up. He only got 1 up, didn't he?
Yeah, but there's
No, he has two. There are 2 there.
yeah, but they're finished by April 1. They go on the tax roll.
Depending
Yes,
upon
Right.
percent complete. They'll go on the tax rolls, but it'll be about percent complete.
Right. Okay.
Yep. And there's still the one under construction on East Street.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mhm. I was gonna say
There's
East Street.
also
Where?
the-
Yeah, I drive by it every day.
If the solar field on the plateau on the Lathrop land happens, that will add to that list as well.
Mhm.
But that won't be in by
That's
April,
before April 1st.
Probably not. You're right.
Yeah.
and neither will the one on landfill.
No.
Right. No.
So they won't be until 2022, 23.
But that's something to look forward to for those years.
Well, and Stony Hill project could be looking forward to too.
Right. That'll be partially done in 2022 for sure.
Right. Maybe we'll do 0 next year.
Yeah. I was just curious. I don't
Yeah.
I don't know, what does a $1 million change in the grand list do?
Well,
Yeah.
so this is about a 52. I think it was 52,000 is what I just did.
But that's close.
And it's almost 0.
Yeah.
52,000 is 5 million, right, Jen?
No.
Divided by 100.
What?
Oh, okay.
No, this is the total grand list figure.
I didn't follow that. I'm sorry.
You
When
said
you calculate taxes, you divide the value by whatever 100, so you get that lister value.
Yep.
That's what he's wondering if that's what you have to do.
I just took the current grand list figure, multiplied it times the 1.55%, and then added those two
Oh, yeah.
numbers together.
oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Any other questions on the budget?
Are you guys not voting on a budget now? Is that how that's?
Well, we're going to be talking in executive session, and it'll probably be after we come out of executive session.
I mean, are we, if we're happy with it, are Jen and Val, are you happy with it in terms of everything that's in there? I know that, so that part of the confusion for me, just in terms of understanding this, is because there's two different things we're looking at. We're kind of looking at Jen's, which we've sort of been going through all along, but then we also have Val's super sheet, which is good to see as well. But then I know that there has been some confusion about those numbers being different. And so I just want to make sure that both of you are on the same page and actually have all the same numbers, because we're looking at both of those. So I want to make sure that those are correct.
I think so. We
Yeah,
were
they're
last week in,
pretty close. I mean,
I
there,
think
there's
it's like
some
$2
slight
off.
differences,
yeah, some rounding things, but
whole numbers
Okay.
versus dollars and
Okay.
cents.
Well, as long as you two have been talking and have relatively the same numbers, that's good.
Mm-hmm. It's actually been a helpful check and balance to do it this way.
Okay. Ready to move on? You?
Yes,
I'm not hearing anybody yell no.
I am.
Okay. Review Water Department Long Range Capital Plan for Town Report.
Jill was on a little while. Oh, though she's still there. Many thanks to Jill for her input on updating this plan. It reflects some pretty important investments we need to make into the water system, and it looks as though we have the capital resources at least to plan ahead for them. Since Jill's on the line, maybe Jill, do you want to give a quick description of what this plan represents?
Val, you want to share your screen?
Sure.
Or share the plan?
Whoops. Let me pull it up. Okay.
Okay.
So the Select Board / Water Commission has probably heard quite a lot of the discussion or the mention of the need to replace the control panels, which are the original control panels from when the water system was put in, and also the generator. Both the control panel and the generator have been a pretty hefty source of repair bills, and the time has come for them both to be replaced.
And this is in the pump house.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm less familiar with the pumps, the high lift pump improvements.
Okay. So what we're looking to do this fiscal year that we're currently in, if we want to scooch down maybe to the bottom a little bit, it's easier to read them when they're slightly larger and to just look at the line items. We would want to replace the original generator and transfer switch of the pump house. We're carrying an estimated cost around $75,000 for that. That would be put out to bid in probably the next 1 to 2 weeks in order to be able to actually have that done by the end of this fiscal year. And then replace the 4-inch pump, which is the pump on the right that we call high lift pump 1, with a 2-inch pump. That may or may not need a hydraulic analysis and definitely will need fit up and install. It's currently a 4-inch high lift pump that has certain areas where it is leaking that definitely cavitates when it's utilized and pumping the water from the chlorine contact tank. So right now we have one high lift pump that's used on a regular basis that we call high lift pump 2. And high lift pump 1, which is a 4-inch that's very rarely used, that was really only ever put there, from our understanding, for potential like massive fire in town. However, we have been told that if we ever actually ran that high lift pump, it could cause pressure issues in the system and a lot of damage. So we also believe it would be very nice to have the pumps identically sized and identically installed so that whatever is sitting on the floor as the backup pump can go in either space. So you only need one spare pump, and you can rotate, you can let them take turns, etc. Where when they're so differently sized, that's not possible.
Are they differently sized now, Jill? Is there a 4 and a 2, or is there a 4 and a 4?
There's a 2 that's used very regularly every single day, and a 4.
I see.
Jill, is
So
there
the four cavitates, the 4 pumps too much water. It can't get water fast enough. Is that what you're saying?
Yep. So the way that the chlorine contact chamber is sized, which is the long part of the pump house, it's kind of a long trench where the chlorine comes in. It has its contact time. When the high lift pump pulls out of that chamber, it pulls too fast and it sucks in air, and which will totally destroy the pump. So it's just not doesn't work the way it should, and it wouldn't make a difference. It's too big. It's too big for the size of the contact chamber that's there. It's not sized properly. So, Cyrus, can you chime in?
So what is going on is the butterfly valves that are after the pump are throttled down so far, it actually creates back pressure and leaks right at the seam of the pump. So that's not correct. If you're going to run the thing, you got to be able to run it so you're not creating so much back pressure that you're bleeding through your gaskets. Therefore, I'm not comfortable running that pump in that system, because if I've got water leaking right there at the pump house, I'm not comfortable walking away from it.
Right.
You know?
Well, you're creating a lot more head pressure too by throttling it down, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, where it's set, it's supposed to pump 500 gallons per minute is what we have our 2-inch pump set at.
Mm-hmm.
And to get that throttled down on that large pump, you're basically cutting off that whole pipe coming off the top of that. So it's power wise, you're pumping water against a flat plate, and then you're creating back pressure, and it's not the ideal situation for what you have going on. And I believe that you could at least have one on the floor to change either spot, and then who's to say that, you know, it's not going to be a bad thing to be able to swiftly swap out if you need to, opposed to, oh no, we've got one this way and we've got to figure out what we're going to do now that one's messed up. And then there's the cost differential between the 2 and the 4-inch pump to begin with that you got to think about when it's time. And it just makes more sense in my head to have one to go in either spot, and then have the GPM set correctly so you're not closing off a pipe to get to the point so you're not pumping past the contact chamber's capacity. To actually make that 4-inch pump work right, you'd have to shut the chlorine contact chamber out of the situation and pump directly from the spring box to make it actually work the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, it can't be efficient that way.
Yeah.
No, it's not really efficient that way. And I mean, that's in an emergency situation. Say that we had half the town burning down and you guys were like, we need water now, you know, then you would bypass the chlorine contact chamber and pull directly from the spring box. But that's, you know, that's an emergency type situation.
Right, because you're a chlorinated system, so you'd be bypassing chlorination. But I mean, quite frankly, Joel, you could correct me if I'm wrong here, but what I've been told by persons from different fire departments is that Bristol doesn't often pull water from the hydrants to respond to fires, that there's a number of different fire departments that respond with tanker trucks, not only drawing off of Bristol's water system, but again, I don't have all of the information. I'm not on the fire department. I don't know what the protocol is.
I'm not going to speak for the chief, and I think he's on, but
Yeah, Brett's there.
House Fire or Martin's Hardware or the block going down there, we're using all the hydrants we can hook to. And
Good.
yeah, their tanker might come in and drop its first load, but we're not going to do a tanker shuttle like we would with the house out in the town.
Can you picture using, so the water tank holds about, probably it can hold up to 600,000 gallons at a time. It's kept at around 520, maybe 540,000, because it's between 22 and 25 feet. Can you imagine using more than 500,000 gallons in a fire?
I wouldn't think so, but you never say never. But on the 2-inch, you or Si said it pumps 500 gallons a minute, return back to the reservoir.
Yeah, it's between 512 and 522 gallons a minute that it's running.
And that's still down as
A
well.
hot day when school's in session and we're watering lawns and washing cars and stuff. What's our hourly use in the village here on our water system? Is 500 going to keep the reservoir at least somewhat level?
That would bring the pressure down in town, because it would bring the reservoir from 25 feet down to like 4 feet. But at the same time, we'd be pumping. So the pumps would be running open. We would just be running. You guys would hopefully, I would hope that the fire department would call and say, whoa, big fire, turn the pumps on full speed. And we would work together to keep the tank full.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying, so if you had the 2-inch pumps, could you have 2 of them going to put 1,000 gallons a minute back to the reservoir and not go from 25 feet down to 4 feet without a fire?
Yeah, that's true. We could pump 1,040 gallons a minute.
You also have to remember, though, you've got your piping sizes coming out of the pump house and throughout your distribution system. That's a limit as well.
Right.
You know,
I think the smallest one going up to the tank is a 8 or a 10-inch, and then coming down, they throttle down. There's 8-inch, there's 6-inch, and there's 4.
I mean, the pipe's coming out.
Right. So the water can only physically move so fast through those pipes.
Correct. Right. But it doesn't the system with the new river crossing go across the river and actually barely, when it comes out of the chlorine contact tank, that 500 gallons a minute is feeding the distribution lines first, and then the remainder is going to the reservoir. It doesn't go to the reservoir then to the distribution lines, does it? It can go either way.
Yes. Yeah. The only distribution. So normally you'd have just a transmission line going from the pump house to the tank, and nobody would draw. But you have what's called a shared transmission and distribution line, where there are residents coming up the first part of Mountain Street and turning onto Mountain Terrace that are served off of that same line.
Right. So over by me, my water all comes from the reservoir, doesn't come from like if the reservoir was low, we have everybody conserve, but we're still using a little water. It's coming right from the pump house. Am I correct in saying that?
Nope.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's coming from the tank. Yeah, the only people that are fed from the pump house are the people that are on the transmission line that's heading up the first part of Mountain and taking the right onto Mountain Terrace. Everybody else is fed down from the tank.
Have you run this going from a 4-inch to a 2-inch pump? What does Alan say?
He wants to do a hydraulic analysis. That's why there's a little spiel here that says pump hydraulic analysis, fit up and install. They're working on a hydraulic analysis for this system as part of the study. So I still need to connect with Alan to just understand, could they pop this calculation into that hydraulic model, just so that we'd have some more answers.
So he may say, after they do their analysis, that maybe some different piping and keep with a 4-inch so we don't have cavitation.
You'll pull through that chlorine contact chamber. You'd need a larger chlorine contact chamber to accommodate the volume that pump can pull through it.
Yeah.
I see.
That would be an expensive upgrade.
Or you upsize your pump that you're drawing from your spring box, but that is a whole hydraulic calculation there too.
Yep.
I would imagine.
Yeah, that's what we call the low lift pump. So the low lift pump pulls from the spring box to the chlorine contact tank.
And
That's
the
a
chlorine,
choice.
just to help me out here, that's what we had the metal grates made up a couple years ago, right? It's in.
Yep. When you walk into the pump house,
You go to the left and go up the hill, go up the.
you go, the little hill. Yep, the 4 stairs, and open the door, and that big long tank is
I
an
guess I would-
interior concrete
Before
tank.
we order a pump, I'd like to see what Alan's analysis is going to be and work with you guys and see what, we may have a more recommendation in just changing the pump.
Yep, doesn't hurt to get the information. We just figured we'd run it by you guys first and say, would you like them? Almost every water and wastewater system, for that matter, that has any kind of pump that does the major moving of the material, there's almost always redundancy, and it's almost always identical, and it's for the exact purpose of being able to have a spare, being able to, keep spare parts, being able to do the repairs, and always being able to switch between.
What is the pump size from the spring box to the contact tank? What's that size? Is that a 2 inch?
2 inch.
Excuse me, I didn't hear.
It's a 2.
That's a 2. Okay.
Yep.
So play this out. So you've got a 2 inch feeding right now. Presently, you've got 2 inch feeding a channel that's pumping it out with a 4 inch. Am I correct in saying that?
No, we're predominantly using the 2 inch pump.
Oh, you're prominently using the 2 inch unless the reservoir gets low.
I don't use the 4 inch because every time you use the 4 inch, it leaks back at you because the pipe is so closed off to throttle it down.
Oh, okay.
You're not over pumping the system, over pressurizing it.
Yep.
All right.
We run it periodically for moments just to make sure that it stays in service, but we don't run it on a regular basis.
So given that, we have no backup.
That's a way to look at it. We do have a pump that could be put in place where high lift pump 1 is, but if we needed to have that moment where that pump needed to get changed out, we would have a period of time needing to change that pump and it doesn't fit in the other side. We wouldn't be able to keep one running on a regular basis while we fix the other, or while we swapped out the other one.
So if the 1 2 inch pump that goes down right now goes down, we switch to the 4 inch pump and then you got to moderate that and watch it.
Yeah, because it will cavitate.
So, I mean, it's always good to have redundancy, and it's always good to make that so you can just drop one piece in to repair both spots, whichever spot decides to die, basically.
Yeah. So if the 2 inch pump goes down right now, you've got something to swap. It's a 4 inch. But if it goes down when the reservoir is way low at 4 feet, then we don't put a boil water notice order. We put a conserve water notice out. Correct?
We would probably want to do that. Yep. And if we had to pull with the 4 and pull directly from the spring box, we would have to put a boil water notice out as well because we would be bypassing chlorination.
Right. We did that way back in the 90s for about 3 days one time.
Yep.
With the fire
there are times when it's called for, but it's one of those rare things that you have.
Can you slide down and show the bottom the years you're going to do these things? My question is, you got another year or 2 years before the upgrade to the panel?
Yeah, I mean, it's so the idea would be like we're already in 2021 right now.
Right.
Like physically we're in it, and we'll finish up these 2 first items that you see in the 2021, which is the current fiscal year. Get another 2 inch lift pump ordered so that we have the spare. That's if we move forward with the change, so that we have a spare on the floor. And then by July 1st of 2022, which honestly I'm going to blink and it's going to be July of this year, we'll be doing the SCADA upgrade. So that gives us time to make sure that we're fully prepared with how we want to replace that control panel and how we want to put that out to bid.
Okay. So the control panel is so-called the motherboard. That runs that whole department down there. I mean,
That's the brain.
That's the brain.
That's the brains of the outfit.
Turn on and off without having to have somebody.
My question to you, Jill and Cyrus, is would we be better off to replace the brains of the outfit, the 95 scan control panel, this year and put the generator 21, 22?
Our concern for
We don't
you,
lose power very often in the village, but we lose that control panel and we haven't got any water. Am I right in saying that?
it just means that Cyrus and I have to go and tell it, okay, turn on, turn off.
Oh,
Turn on,
okay.
turn off. Physically,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, now you know about it, and then you have to go physically do it. You gotta
Yeah, and also there are enough people right now in the market that work on control panels and the pieces and parts of them that we could always have them build something custom within 12 hours or 24 hours to bypass whatever has
Oh,
failed.
okay. I feel a little
So
better.
I'm not.
Now that you're saying that, I feel a little better.
Yeah, I don't want to wait forever, but there's also enough talent and enough. It's not so complicated, and there's enough talent in Vermont of people that can build a custom panel in a day or build a bypass in a day. You know, there's 3 people that I can call right now and say, be there in an hour.
How old
And
is the generator?
Both of them are the
It's
generator.
original equipment.
Yep, 1995 is when the pump station was built, and everything is original.
Okay.
I have a couple questions.
26 years.
For your new 2-inch high lift pump,
Yeah.
is that something where it's actually going to be, it's just sitting waiting to be used, or are you putting it in place of that, the 2-inch that's being used now?
You would be putting in place of the 4-inch pump, and then it would cycle between the 2-inch pumps. So you'd have a rest between cycles of each pump. So one would cycle for 4 hours and shut off, and then the other one would turn on and cycle for 4 hours and shut off. And they'd run in unison like that, back and forth, is how most systems run and work.
So given that, does it make sense to move your 2021 and 2022 high lift pump, to move that to 2020, 2021? So you can replace that 4-inch with a 2-inch as well as get that other one in there as well? Does that help at all?
Well, we kind of figured it's probably going to take a couple of months to get everything, all the pricing and everything out to bid. So if we kind of did it in June and then had the new 2-inch by July, we have a 2-inch pump sitting on the floor that's been rebuilt.
Okay.
So I don't know.
So it's not like it's not like you're tearing it apart, waiting a half a year and then doing the same to replace that second pump. You're going to blend them together, hopefully, when you're doing and do both at the same time, pretty much.
It's kind of beautiful that your fiscal years fall in the summertime, which is the perfect time to do these types of projects.
Basically what we have going on is we've got a 2-inch pump for backup right now sitting on the floor, to where if we got the okay to do it, we could change the piping and put that 2-inch pump right in place. And then we'd have to purchase a backup at that point to have for either spot whenever the next time comes.
Okay. And then my second question, so the electricity that's used for the pump house is one of our highest accounts. Does any of this replacement of the pumps help reduce our electricity usage in that area? Or do you have recommendations for any kind of technology that would help reduce our electricity use?
We could check in with Efficiency Vermont to see what they have for programs as far as, if VFDs might be effective and if they would help pay for those. I've had 2 clients recently install VFDs, and it's made their systems run horribly and their power bills went up. So I would want to see I worked for engineering firms for most of my career, and there was a study done by a snowmaking company and one of our water engineers, who's now the general manager at CWD, or CWD, about right size pumping. So it's actually less expensive to use a pump that's sized properly in the pump curve than it is to have a VFD that keeps ramping up and down and up and down and up and down. So there is a lot to be said for having a pump sized properly. We're like this 4-inch where we're pushing against a flap. That's not the efficient use of a pump, and it's one of the reasons we want to get it out of there. We don't see it as a good use of energy. We see it as a danger for the pump house, being that it's pushing so much pressure back that it's cavitating the pump. It's all the wrong things for how things are supposed to work hydraulically. But I mean, we could certainly look at it when we say that. It's just there's pump curves and there's energy costs, and it's all hypothetical until you put it in place.
You got to remember too, it's a 75 horsepower pump that you're starting every time they start. That's 75 horsepowers, bam, on.
Yep. And
I mean, since we're replacing those, it's, you know, I'd love to have you guys just look and see if there's potential, and you know, if the VFD isn't the way to go, obviously let's not go that way if it's going to wind up being more headache. But, you know, just to have you to aware of sort of that, just because it is one of our highest accounts, or it's the highest account apart from like the lighting. It would be great to look at that and see, can we get that down in any way with newer technology, since we're replacing stuff that's pretty old.
Right. I don't know if we'll be able to get that answer for free. You know what I mean? Like, would we be able to get maybe an energy consultant from Efficiency Vermont do those calculations for the town and the water system for free as part of their program? Or would we have to pay an engineer to put that into some type of power usage model?
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Speaker, do you have a question? No, well, you've got your hand raised, so that's what I'm asking.
Hi. Were you just saying hey?
Okay.
Yeah, so the biggest reason we put this SCADA after is we think it's going to be the most expensive, and it's going to be the most intensive. Again, I work with a couple other clients. They've gone through an upgrade of their control panel. They've added VFDs. I've seen more sleepless nights. There are a couple very small systems that have a lot of their board doing a lot of the work, and they're not getting much sleep, and they're working with their controls division a lot, and it's sad. So I want to make sure that we're super careful when we do ours.
So for ours, is it sort of like a dumb brain? It's just doing a very simple task. And so by them adding the VFD, it's making it more complicated, which is then causing more problems.
We only have one zone. We're just going from one pump house to one tank.
Right.
We don't have multiple zones. We don't have multiple pressures. We don't have pressure tanks. So like, we're very straightforward.
A lot of the control board that we have right now is analog technology. There is some digital interface, but most of it is analog.
It's mostly levels. So it's looking at the level in the tank up at the top of the hill and saying, when it gets to 22 feet, hey, turn the low lift pump on, start bringing some water from the spring box to the chlorine contact tank. Then the chlorine contact tank gets to its level, and the high lift pump says, oh, hey, it's time for me to turn on now. It turns on, and it fills up the tank and up to 25 feet. And then the pumps are told turn off. At the high lift, that one turns off, and then the low lift comes on, finishes filling the chlorine contact tank, and then it sits and waits for the tank to draw down to 22 feet again. The second transducer, level transducer, is in that chlorine contact tank, which is telling the low lift pump when to turn on. So again, it does go, it's two pumps, it's two levels. That's it. I mean, there's a chlorine feed pump that's bringing the day tank chlorine into the chlorine contact tank, but that's just power on, power off.
Okay.
So it's really straightforward as far as how it works. It is interfacing, the mission panel is interfacing with what we're using for pump hours. So it's kind of nice to be able to go in there and just look at how many pump hours we're using. I was really happy to see after the last two repairs were done, those two massive leaks, that our pump runtime went down like hours and hours every day. So those were huge.
So for your replacement for the SCADA 1995 panel, will that all come out and it will all become digital? are we going to have issues with that, or is it are you not concerned about that, or haven't you started researching the potential with what will go in there?
That we haven't fully researched it right now. I know any upgrade that I've seen, the existing panels stay. The new panels come in. They're generally smaller. There's generally more motherboards, more small, fast technology. But it all depends on what the new designer has for technology and how they want to lay it out. And it needs to do the same things that the one does now.
Right.
You can't. It has to. It absolutely has to keep the water tank full. It absolutely has to make sure that the chlorine contact tank has the time for contact and that it stays full. But it's pretty straightforward. There are much more complicated systems that have all different pressure zones, that have to go in all different areas, that have 5 different pump stations. This is simpler. It's big simpler, but it's great. Everything once it gets to the tank is fed by gravity.
Jill, like you to ask Alan, the question is, we peeled this onion back a little bit more and said, if we got a 4-inch pump from the spring box to the contact, and then from there up to the big tank on the hill, and what other piping would have to be done, was what Cy was saying earlier with the 2-inch. One will come on for 4 hours and another one will come on for 4 hours. And as Ian said, our biggest use down there is electricity. So when the pumps are on, we're using electricity. And my point with the 4-inch is, could we deliver almost twice as much water in half the electrical time?
We'll have to ask him.
What more would that have to do beyond changing the pumps? That it says, okay,
So the pump is throttled down by a butterfly valve, so it doesn't blow your pipes apart because it can move so much water. And then you're pumping against a flat plate, which is also creating back pressure, which is also creating more power use.
What he's wondering is, would they need to replace all the piping from the pump house up to the tank?
I don't think it would be worth that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going quite that far, Joe, but I was thinking inside the pump house.
I think what he's saying is that the piping from the pump house up to the tank would blow. So I think we've got hydraulic
Your
questions.
system's 113 years old, and you want to start running the
that pipe is fairly new, Cy. I believe that pipe is coming down Mountain Terrace or Mountain View Street past Ian's down through there. That was put in the 80s.
Yeah, but you also
reservoir in. So I thought that was fairly new from the pump house to the reservoir. Maybe Peter can fill me in on that.
I think we'll just have to ask Alan. I think there is a lot of questions.
I'd like to see what Alan says too.
Yep.
How you guys are getting to these needs.
Yeah, well, we're just gonna have to ask him.
Well, I think this looks great. I think it's exciting to be able to make these changes and have a system that we have a backup, and B, it's going to run hopefully more smoothly. I think the hydraulic analysis and all that makes a lot of sense to sort of figure out, what can work there, especially with the going from the 4 to the 2, and make sure there aren't any surprises. But this looks great work.
Yep, we'll ask the questions, and in order to do them within these fiscal years, we're definitely going to have to push that.
Yeah.
I think to be cost effective, you can't, if you look at upsizing everything and changing everything in the pump house, it's not going to be affordable for us at this time.
Probably not. I mean, generally, if you do the equal to, you don't need a construction permit. So if you change anything outside of your permit with the state on your water system, you need permits. It has to go to review at the drinking water division at the state, etc. So that's pretty much why these are just maintenance and repair, where when you start doing upgrades, then you need to put it through the state, their engineer. You need an engineer involved. You're going to start spending money on design. You're going to start spending money on all of it.
And that
So
doesn't
Joel,
sound
if you want money,
necessary at this point.
Be careful.
What's that, Peter?
If you want money for Pine Street, you need to be careful how much you do down there.
I'm just concerned about going from a 4-inch to a 2-inch, and it's just going to run all day long.
We're
We
not using
don't
for it.
use the 4-inch. We run about 4.2 to 6.2 hours a day on a 2-inch when we don't
Okay.
have leaks.
Okay.
So just to jump in just a little bit. So the water system budget would be reviewed in late June, early July, and that's when the appropriations would be decided. But this plan forecasts increasing it incrementally to plan ahead for some of these expenses.
Yeah, the appropriation, we have right now 28,065 in the appropriation, which was part of your decision to increase the budget. I think 8%, the water budget?
About 8.
Last year, I think.
Yes, so we just took that appropriation and just nudged it up a tiny bit each year, like $1,000 a year. That's just a projection. That's not what you guys have decided.
Right.
Mhm. But this is something we'll talk about in May. Correct. Right. Mhm.
So this is for the town report.
Right. Yeah.
Can you slide down to the bottom of that page? So, for a 23, 24, 2 to 26, that $20,000 a year, what we spend this year on repairs on the streets, not down at the pump house? About 36,000.
That was all within the regular budget. We haven't touched the capital to my knowledge.
Okay.
We didn't do anything in this fiscal year yet. And the last fiscal year, we didn't do anything. The fiscal year ending June 30th.
Okay.
We didn't do anything with the capital. I don't know, Jen, I don't know if you had moved any money to cover any kind of budget overages or not, but we were at, I think, 114,000.
We ended up paying for the West Street hydrant out of the capital fund. I had to review that today because
Okay.
of it being new and the total cost of that project being higher than expected. So we didn't blow the water budget, but that's the only money we spent out of the capital fund last year.
Okay, so it's kind of nice because
Not doing too bad.
a lot of systems forget to save to get to actually do projects that cost more, and it's a nice position to be in, to be able to make these updates and not have to go out to bid and bond and take on indebtedness.
Well, we're going to have to if we're going to get this 1905 system.
That we know, but at least we're not having to for this stuff at the pump
Just
house.
keep pushing the can down the road, right? So I keep kicking the can down the road.
Oh, yeah.
See, if anybody would have won the Power Mega Million, whatever, we could have just donated that money.
Can you imagine? That would be pretty
I
cool.
would have fixed Pine Street for you, Joel.
That's
And
nice.
maybe we should put lottery tickets in the budget.
There you go.
That's a good idea.
Okay. Any
Right.
other discussion on this? Okay. Thank you, Jill and Si.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Good luck with the rest of your evening.
Thanks.
Okay. Are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Sure. Review and finalize town meeting and police district warnings.
Yes, so hopefully folks had a chance to look at the updated draft. Some of the articles were reorganized following
Right.
last week's
Ian,
discussion.
can you send that to me?
I'm sorry?
Ian, can you send that to me and I'll.
The two drafts. Yes, I can.
Thank you. Go ahead, Valerie.
So obviously we'll want to make sure all of the budget figures are match what the end result of tonight's meeting will be. I think probably the biggest thing to talk about is Article 38. The one that we added from last week's discussion about what we thought would be a non-binding article,
Right.
voters about changing the floor meeting date. But we learned today, we learned last week that the Secretary of State advised against including non-binding articles on an Australian ballot warning. But also we learned from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns that it actually would be a binding article because it's within the realm of the kinds of topics voters are authorized to vote on, which is on meeting day. So the results would be binding. And also it needs to be worded in a yes or no fashion, not a Saturday or Monday kind of question. So the advice is to not put it on unless we're prepared to deal with the outcome.
I would say take it off and maybe follow Darla's suggestion of sort of doing a survey, something like that, to just get an idea if the voters support changing it to a Saturday.
I agree.
Yeah, it also struck me as a little odd in this year of not having a town meeting and putting a question on the warning about when do you want to have your town meeting? We're not having one. So it's like, well, when are we going to have one again? I don't know.
In the future.
Right. We could have thousands of people turning up on Monday, and we've already scheduled it for Saturday. So
Yeah.
So if we do poll folks and there is a desire to change it, then how do we deal with that? Do we have to wait till as a board, can we make that change, or would we have to, does it have to be voted on? So then
You have to put it on the ballot next year to vote on it.
Right. Yeah. The language that Garrett Baxter from the VLCT was the language basically that we would need to consider for a future vote like that.
So it would still be 2 years out before a change could be made. Okay.
I think we ought to just wait till next year. We can have everybody in a room on an evening, March town meeting, and discuss it as a group, and and not just. I think it's a great idea to have that, Darla, but I think the voters would be fine if we just didn't vote on it this year. Just saying.
Oh, I think it's fine not to vote on it this year. I just don't. I want to make sure that I feel like while a lot of things are decided at town meeting by voice vote, I think that this is something we want to ask that. Again, we're trying to get those people that can't come to that meeting to get their input as well. So I think at least having that poll at some point in time would be useful.
Well, I think the poll could be done all day voting on Tuesday out there on the table. Have a sheet that says the board is considering, what do you think? What is your opinion? And where they drop it in the box afterwards they vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, an exit poll.
An exit.
Yeah, but not everybody's going to go to the.
Right.
Next year.
Well, we can do a combination of things. I think we can put it on Front Porch Forum and stuff like that.
Well, or you could put it in, if somebody requests an absentee ballot, you could put it in that and ask them
Right.
to
Yeah.
return it with their ballot.
No.
Can't do that?
No.
You can't add stuff in there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought we couldn't just add instructions, Jen.
No, you can put instructions, but you can't
add
add
other stuff in.
you can't add other stuff that's not actually voted items.
Voted on. Okay.
Like Powerball tickets for everyone.
Yeah,
There's a lottery ticket for everyone in town.
Right. Val, in Article 1, there's inconsistencies with select board. It's one word at the beginning, and then it's 2 words for the library trustees. Oh, no, school board. I'm sorry. I'm reading that wrong. Forget what I said. I can't read anymore.
And it's not even 11 o'clock.
It feels like it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other
Yeah, this looks good.
comments?
I like the order. It's great.
Yeah.
Just to have the town specific and then the appropriations.
Did
Anything
you
else
talk
on
about the delinquent tax rate?
Oh, right.
I was happy with what you had in there.
They changed it to 4 last year, and then 2 years ago or 3 years ago they changed it from 8 to 4. So is it worth, keeping it at 4 because that's what they've asked for, or you're hoping it's going to slide by at 6? It doesn't really matter to me, but just as a.
There was definitely a lot of discussion about it, us changing
Last
it.
year.
There was a lot of questions about that last year. So I would recommend maybe keeping it as it is now.
I would say we voted it that way 2 years running now, that we probably should leave it at 4. And, until they have a chance to argue about it again.
We had 2 years, Speaker? Was it 2 years?
Yeah, Ken
Yeah.
Weston, 2 years in a row, I believe. And I really don't see, we're trying to keep the budget down. If somebody's having trouble paying their taxes, then,
Yeah.
we, in this era, we ought to be helping them any way we can.
Does that change the revenue page, Valerie?
Say that again?
Does that change that revenue we got coming in on an interest?
No.
No.
No, because it's not a calculated figure.
Okay.
So is everybody on board with the 4%?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody notice any typos or articles that are misnumbered or anything like that?
I didn't notice that, but I didn't double check your numbers. I'm hoping you guys do that.
Yeah.
Once we get them finalized.
Right.
Anything else? For the, either warning?
I'm just
So
looking at,
Article 38 is gone. So we have 37 articles.
Mhm.
What was I going to say? Oh, so for the Zoom meetings, we just talked earlier about having the same Zoom link if we can. We should look at that, and it would be nice. Well, I guess most of the time people are going to see this printed. Well, not necessarily. I guess for the PDF to have the actual Zoom link, it's right now the link is just that URL, but we should put in like the full thing, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like the longer link. It could just be linked, internally with that, so it actually is the right link.
Did you get that, Val?
That's a lot of
Sorry.
links.
That was very confusing. I'm really sorry.
But it doesn't take much when it comes to computers.
No, I
I knew what you were saying, but
I know I said it in a really bad way. I think I'm losing it. No, just have whatever we decide for the link, have them, if we can, have both links be the same. And then it's going to be a longer URL than that, but we can just, the actual link itself, instead of what we see in the page, we can use that longer link. So if someone wanted to click on this thing, they could actually open it up. Right now, it just takes you to the website. You have to punch in the meeting ID, but we should do the full link if we can, just to help people.
you want the hyperlink to get you right directly to
Yes, thank you very much.
to the Zoom meeting.
That's the problem I was having tonight. I couldn't click on it. I had to put the numbers in. And then I had to find it. So.
Valerie,
Right, so
do you know that your numbers in the police warning aren't right?
They're not correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they need to be updated to match the final budget figures.
Okay. Any other questions on the warnings?
Am I hearing that the select board wants to have the Zoom link, the super long Zoom link on these notices?
It doesn't have to be typed out where we physically see the address, but when you create the link in the PDF,
Oh, I
You
see
can
in the background.
you can have it, what we see, it can be the short, but the actual link that's in there that's invisible to us will
Yep.
be the full link.
Okay, I hear you.
Got it.
Got it.
Kind of
Everybody
like
good?
secret coded messages.
That's right. And we were all set about the 6:30 start time, and it's this essentially for the police and for our town. It's the same link for all 4 meetings, or all
Right.
2 meetings we're going to have, or 4 really if it's the 2 different ones. But it's one that's going to lead right into the next.
Right.
Trying to make it as easy as possible for people.
Hard to say that, but
Yeah.
No, I
Aaron,
know.
does that sound doable to have the same link for all the meetings?
I have no idea. I don't even know how you would do that.
I can help you with that.
Have
You
to
should
look
be
at
able to
it.
have it for at least one meeting, because you just sign in later. I mean, you don't have to sign in at the beginning of the meeting.
Right.
Correct.
no,
So
but it
that-
goes by
But right
date.
now they're set up with different passcodes and stuff because you do them through a calendar thing. So I don't know if you wanted them both to have the same thing, how you would do that.
Mm.
You could have the same link, but it would be a different passcode and ID because it's a different day. So
Right.
Right.
I
The
don't
different
know.
bother me as much as the meeting, switching meetings.
Mm.
We go from a police meeting to the informational meeting. I think that can be the same length. And if
Right.
you're interested in the second meeting, you just sign on later.
Right.
Right. And that's the plan. But Ian was trying to get the same link for both the Saturday meeting and the Monday meeting.
And what
Yeah.
I'm hearing
Right, Ian?
for all future select board meetings too, probably.
Right. You can
Yeah.
set up a recurring meeting.
Right.
And I'll.
Which
let me
I
do a little
have
bit
for
of-
select board, but,
Mhm.
or I did
Okay.
one time. That's what I had them at, is second and fourth. Until you decide,
Okay.
all four this month, but either
We
the
screwed
second
you
and
up.
fourth are set up as recurring.
Okay.
So
Okay,
she
we
could set up
Yeah.
could set up a recurring meeting for that Saturday and that Monday, and it would have the same link, right?
I think so.
It depends on if you, because recurring, it might be hard
No.
to specify a
Right.
Saturday or not a.
And a Monday, yeah, because usually it's
Okay,
the second Monday, you say the second.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. But I guess, I mean, the main thing is having in this particular document and the other one, this information would be the same, both for the Monday, the 22nd and the 1st. Like, so if I clicked on this link from the police warning, if I just happened to stay on, it would become the town meeting one at 7:00.
Yeah, see, I haven't set up any 6:30 meeting. The only ones I set up were the 7:00 ones.
Yeah,
Right,
we would
because
just
we
go
hadn't decided yet.
edit that.
Yeah, so she just needs to go in and change
To
the start time
6:30
from
and then
7
it
to
could stay
6:30.
the way it is.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I have, so sort of connected to this. So I'm working with Sharon just for the town report, helping her do some of the editing and just not reformat, but the order of things to make it a little bit more understandable. And also Sharon worked up the postcard that we've been talking about, and I did a little edit on that. And that was in the materials that Val sent. And if people could look at that and just see if that's enough information, just because it's so different this year. I think a lot of people don't realize there isn't going to be a meeting. So we want to make sure that that's clear when we send this out. And I guess we're going to have to send it out pretty soon too.
Yeah, I looked at it. I thought it looked good.
Do we need to say, I mean, in looking at that, there will be no floor meeting on Tuesday on town meeting day. Do we need to say that do we want to say that there's going to be a virtual meeting held by, via Zoom? Otherwise, because to me, when I read this, it sounds like there's no town meeting. Like,
No, it says town meeting
what are you
informational
looking
meetings
at?
will be held
I'm
on.
looking at the postcard. I'm sorry, I'm
Okay.
looking at the postcard. I thought that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, but if you
Yes.
look at the postcard at the very bottom, it says town meeting informational meetings will be held on.
Hmm.
But we
And
could
so
we
one,
could
two,
change
three,
the
we
order.
have
of those.
it
I
as
see
well.
what you mean.
Yeah.
Shouldn't
We've
that,
got it under important dates, but you're right. Maybe we want to bump up that second to last item, and it's we say there will be no floor meeting on town meeting day, and then town meeting informational meetings will be held, and then all articles will be voted on Australian ballot
Yeah.
the next day. So we just
Yeah.
swap that order. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would
You're
make
right. Because
sense.
the first thing that people are reading is no floor meeting, and you're like, okay, no meeting, great. So-
Right, exactly. and then they start calling Sharon.
Right.
We don't want that, Sharon.
And just a
No,
minor
do
edit.
not.
shouldn't that say, because town meeting day is not Monday, March 1st.
Right.
Town meeting day is Tuesday, March 2nd. That should,
Yeah.
there'll be no floor meeting on Monday night, pre-town meeting, or whatever. But Monday night, March 1st, the original town meeting night.
All right.
Bristol's town meeting night will not be done by.
So you're saying town meeting day is the voting day. It's not the day that we have the meeting.
Correct.
That's the day
Correct.
before. Okay.
Right.
So what do we want to?
there'll be no meeting Monday the 1st. I think there'll be no
Yeah.
floor meeting Monday the 1st. I think it's that simple. You
Okay.
don't
Yeah.
overthink it.
Yeah.
Because you got simple people like me gonna read it.
Take out the reference to town meeting.
Okay, so there will be no floor meeting on Monday, March 1st, 2021.
Correct.
And then our next item, because I'm editing this now, will be town meeting informational meetings will be held on Monday, February 22nd and Monday, March 1st.
Then you
And
just
then
say
all-
town informational meetings rather than town meeting informational meetings.
Town, oh, right.
Or just leave out,
Take out
Well,
that
because-
first meeting.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's how you, I guess I think of town meeting as the evening before, because that's where you're all meeting, as opposed to the day that you vote. But technically it's not, right? Town meeting day
Correct.
is the day that you vote.
But I think you're right, Ian. That's how most people consider it, is
Yeah,
that meeting when everybody's together.
right. But really the meeting is your meeting to vote, not meeting to chat about the vote. Oh, but then you were voting on the Monday, so.
And do we need to say that the town, maybe I'm just getting crazy. I'm sorry. Does when you say town meeting, informational meeting will be held on Monday, do we need to specify that that's a virtual meeting with a
I think
phone?
it should say after that. I was going to bring
Yeah.
it up, Garland.
yeah,
will.
well,
At
so
7
it'd
say
be
p.m.
a Zoom
via
at the
Zoom.
end.
at Zoom,
Yeah.
per Zoom.
Okay.
Because we told them up here there's no floor meeting, and then down here we said there's 2 informational meetings, and they're going, what is it?
Yeah. Right. That's what I was getting at. Right.
Yeah, if you just put via Zoom at the end.
Yeah, which I did. So do we,
Yeah.
do we want to edit where it's just a town informational meetings? Or town voting? Like what do we, I guess we have to get the wording right so people.
I
do
think it should say
understand.
Bristol's traditional Monday night town meeting
Too many words. Too
will not be.
Okay, that's too much.
many words.
No, it isn't too much. Bristol's traditional Monday night.
He's limited to space on the postcard, Joel, so
Okay.
But it,
no,
but
I'm
we
just
do
saying,
have, it is,
we have to get the wording right, but we're
Yeah.
limited to how much space we have.
Right.
I mean, the first thing is what each of us calls the Tuesday when you vote. If people do think about it as town meeting day, then what is the thing where we vote on Monday evening? And then if we change it to the Saturday, we'd also going to have a wording issue there.
Right.
And we could talk about this offline too, but
Meetings for informational meetings for the town vote will be held.
yeah. Yeah, something like that. You
On the
gotta have it.
15th.
Yeah, you're specifying the voting in there. That's the important thing. I think you're right.
That's good. Yeah.
Under via absentee ballot, should it say, it says returned by mail or dropped off at the secure drop-off box?
Yeah.
Should I have a date there? That mean I can drop it off in May? Doesn't say.
Well, it has the important dates over here.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Or put it in with important dates. Voting by absentee ballots needs to be back by,
Yeah. Must be received
3/2.
by 3/2.
3/2 at 7 p.m.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So there will be no floor meeting on Monday, March 1st. Town voting informational meetings will be held on Monday, February 22nd and Monday, March 1st. Does that sound good? Town voting informational meetings?
Yes.
Via Zoom.
Via Zoom.
Right, via Zoom. And then we go into all articles will be voted by Australian ballot on Tuesday, March 2nd. Okay, and then just the when to return. All right, I gotta figure out how to crowbar that date in there somehow.
I wonder if we should throw in a footnote or something, asterisk or somewhere, that this is for this year only.
Yes,
Yeah.
I noticed that.
Due to
I think it
COVID,
was
blah,
the
blah,
Waitsfield
blah.
postcard did that, right? That was
Yeah.
that was on one side. It was like large, like only this year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I had
Okay.
that note too.
Yeah, I'll look at that. Maybe we can put that.
Maybe you could put that under the important dates where you have some room.
Yeah, or even just there will be no floor meeting. Well, I guess the floor meeting isn't the voting, it's the,
Can you
And that's
just
because-
can you just add a date to the title so that people know it's only for the year? Can you just say important 2021 town meeting information?
Mhm.
And then that way that achieves your
Yes, I
Yep.
can.
Yeah, Jen.
simple. I'm thinking Peaker's path.
You got to word it so I understand it. And that's not, it can't be too complicated.
Yeah, okay, and then I'll figure out putting the date in. So the return date is for the absentee ballot is Tuesday, March 2nd by 7 p.m. So I got to get that in there somehow.
Okay, I got it too technical here for you, and I got too long-winded according to you guys. So make the first one. There'll be no in-person meeting on Monday night, March 1st.
Okay,
Simple.
Yeah.
In-person.
in person as opposed to no floor
Mhm.
meeting.
Very
That's
good,
good.
Joel.
Good job.
We know if you keep at you long enough, Joel, you'll get it.
Just trying to make it for us stupid people, Peter.
No, that's,
There will be
I
no in-person meeting on Monday, March 1st.
Sounds good.
Now
perfect.
we can just not discuss it for 30 minutes. We'll be good, you know?
Damn, got some sass up in here tonight.
Let's make it quick, guys, you know?
Let's just keep it quiet in the peanut gallery, young lady.
Okay, great. Thank you
Sounds
for
good.
your feedback.
Yay. You need anything more from us on those, Val?
Well, if there could be motions to accept the warnings as updated or as adjusted, and then
As
So moved as
presented with the
updated.
updated numbers?
right.
Okay.
And
Did you
And
just
then-
say so moved, Ian?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
second
somebody
it.
want a second?
I want to get
Darla,
those
second?
done.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye, or raise your
Aye.
hand, wave. Okay, motion carried.
Who seconded?
The budgets are finalized.
Darla seconded.
Yes, Jen.
Okay, sorry. I just was being.
Wait, did you
wanted
say
to-
until budgets are finalized?
No, I assume that means that they are finalized since she updated numbers.
They probably won't be until after executive session tonight, but then we have to finalize them tonight.
Yeah, and the final versions will be sent to the printer tomorrow, at the office tomorrow.
That motion
Okay.
was just to approve the warning, correct?
Correct. Okay. Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Approval of wait a minute. Now we have to sign those, right?
Yes, soon this week. So yeah, they have to be made available to you for final
Okay.
signatures.
Everybody on the select board hear that?
The
Oh,
warnings
yeah.
need to be posted by Sunday of this week
Okay.
or
Okay.
Sunday next week or whatever.
I'll be in tonight, Saturday.
Really by Friday. They need to be posted on Friday. So,
Okay.
I'll go and change the rules.
well, the state statute has it land on Sunday, but for practical purposes, really Friday.
Okay. Approval of annual certificate of highway mileage without changes.
So moved.
Somebody second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No way second in there.
I didn't hear that.
It was a tonight comment. I'll keep it.
Shocker.
Wouldn't expect
Sorry,
anything else. Okay, any more discussion?
What was the
All those in favor?
show? Hold on, I was gone to the
Yeah.
back. I just got my what?
You snooze, you lose, Jolie.
Okay,
my-
yes, yes.
No, we were talking about the annual mileage, highway
Oh.
mileage. You good?
We have to do that, but yeah.
Okay. All those in favor, wave your hand. Okay, any opposed? Motion carried. Approval of January 4th, 11th, and 18th meeting minutes. Val, is 4th and the 11th not done yet?
They're not done yet, but the 18th went out today.
Okay. Okay, the 18th, I sent my changes. I saw Darla sent changes. Any other changes? Okay, somebody want to make a motion to approve?
So move.
Second? Darla seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Wave, whatever. Aye. Okay, motion carried for the 18th.
Thank you.
Authorize accounts payable warrant and liquor license. I know there were a couple licenses, right, Sharon, that are sitting down on the desk.
Yeah, there's two new ones. There's Walgreens and Bristol Cliffs, and Peaker, when you come in, you missed one of the other liquor licenses. You signed two of them, but not the third one.
I did it on purpose.
Did it on purpose.
Okay. And Tasha, you got the warrant?
Yep, the updated one, yep.
Yep, okay. Which was 70-something thousand dollars. Okay.
Oh, that wasn't the one you sent me.
I don't remember what the number was.
That was
Hang on.
58 something.
Was it
Yeah,
58? I don't
I
remember.
have 59,243.90. So,
That's probably right.
So move to pay it, whatever.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
We just have to go down and sign.
All right, I gotta be in town tomorrow, I will.
Okay. All right. That was the number I had to Tasha.
Yeah, 59,243.90.
Okay. Select board roundtable. Ian, let's start with you.
I am good. I've said the things I wanted to say.
Hey, Darla.
I don't have anything for this evening.
Beaker?
Good.
Joel?
Just a question in our March meeting, because I'm doing my school bus schedule for driving sports now, and they hope, and the meeting, the Monday after town meeting will be the 8th. Will we meet then or take a week off and meet usually take a week off and then we meet 2 weeks after town meeting? Just a question.
I think that's
Because there's 5 Mondays in that. I thought we'd probably meet the 15th and the 20 something. There's 5 Mondays in.
well, the first is the first Monday. It would
We
throw
would-
our
we would have met the
schedule off.
8
Then
and
the
22.
15th, and then the 8th, 15th, and 22nd, and the 29th.
So you're suggesting meeting on the 1st and then the 15th and the 29th, just for March.
Right, just for March. Because there's 5.
I don't have a problem with that, I guess. Anybody else have a problem with that? Okay. All right. Does that work for your schedule, Joel?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, if we wanted to be 8th, but I just have to cross it off my list, that's all. Cross
Okay.
off on the trip, that's all.
All right. Then I am good. Town administrators report.
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Other business? Anything? Okay. Okay, we will go into need to go into executive session, so I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personal matters per 1 VSA section 313.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye, raise your hand. Okay, motion carried. We are in executive session. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.